Lionel Messi, he can now register his name as a trademark after a 9-year legal battle. This according to the EU's top court. The European Court of Justice dismissed an appeal from Spanish cycling company Massi, isn't that funny? Messi, and the EU's Intellectual Property Office, the EUIPO. The Barcelona footballer first applied to trademark his surname as a sportswear brand in 2011, but Massi argued the similarity between their logos would cause confusion. The European Court of Justice said that the star player's reputation could be taken into account when weighing up whether the public would be able to tell the difference between the two brands. In doing so, it upheld a ruling by the EU's General Court in 2018 that the footballer was too well known for confusion to arise. And we have Arise business correspondent Adefemi Kinsanya joining me in the studio to discuss these stories. Adefemi, you are very welcome. So, starting with Messi, what does this mean? This is a pretty big ruling here from the court.
On its face, what it means is that he has won.
Right.
So after almost a decade of fighting to use his own name as the logo, as the branding as well for a sportswear brand, as you said in your introduction there was lots of dispute about whether or not the average customer would mix up Messi for Massi. And had Lionel Messi not be the superstar footballer he is, it is quite a legitimate argument when you have two very similar names with one letter differentiating the two, the fact that that letter is also a vowel. It's very easy for the common customer, the common person, to misinterpret the two brands. So you can understand why Sportswear Massi felt as though him using his own last name, Messi, for his own sportswear brand could cause confusion. However, the court didn't agree. They believe because of the notoriety or Lionel Messi's level of fame, the average person would readily identify Messi and associate Messi with his own clothing brand as opposed to Massi's own clothing brand. The interesting part here is that they're both sportswear brands.
Right.
And you can understand where that confusion comes from. But personally, I've never heard of Massi before, so I'm not sure, how reflective that is of the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Of course, within Spain, that could be different because, again, they are both based in the same country, both operating in the same type of apparel in terms of sportswear. But ultimately, the court sided with Messi, believing that his fame would alleviate any type of concerns with people misinterpreting the two. Because I don't think somebody wanting to buy a Messi T-shirt would buy a Massi one, or vice versa.
You know, this is
That's what the court believed anyway.
Right. Well, I guess they were worried about the confusion, maybe how it would affect sales. But they could. You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of Kanye West's Ye album from 2018. Burna Boy had the Ye single, and his sales spiked because I guess people, kind of confused the Ye album with his Ye. Yeah, he sent out a tweet saying, "Wow, look, I bet it was serendipity. I benefited from Kanye West naming his album Ye, and Burna Boy had his single called Ye." So I thought maybe Massi would have seen it that way, but maybe they think that their sales would be negatively affected by this. But how will
perhaps positively affected?
Right. So
people would buy Massi thinking
it's Messi. Exactly. So it could have gone either way. But how does this, as far as his plans for sports apparel line, how does that threaten mainstream sportswear brands?
It offers something that mainstream sportswear brands can't usually offer. So of course you've got the likes of Nike and Adidas and Reebok and Puma, and them being your household brands, and that always being the case. But even though those huge companies may endorse or have sponsorship deals with major sportswear or sports athletes, it's not always the same as an athlete themselves coming out with their very own line. That way you're not associating your love of me, the athlete, with this one brand. We could just have the two things in one place. However, historically, when you look at athletes who have turned into businessmen and women in the area of sportswear, that hasn't always been the case. Serena Williams and Venus Williams, as fantastic as they both are, they both launched their own clothing lines. As Serena's is more to do with women's daytime fashion, and Venus's one was to do with sportswear. She actually began wearing her sports brand, her own sports brand. She actually does continue to wear it during competitions, but I don't see any other players wearing it. I haven't seen any type of major marketing. I haven't seen the average customer wearing Venus Williams sportswear, and I can imagine that would be the case no matter how fantastic and how successful these athletes are.
Right.
That crossover isn't always there, most especially when it comes to sportswear apparel, because you think, well, yeah, I think Messi's a fantastic footballer, but do I have to wear his T-shirt to the gym?
Right.
So one foot in, one foot out. On the one hand, Messi and other athletes like him can do the same thing. Well, hey, you guys love me so much, come and buy my things, come and buy my merchandise. But after a while, the novelty wears off. And, you know, when you look at these big brands, they've been in the game for a long time. They've been able to develop a very strong sense of brand loyalty. To this day, Nike and Adidas, I hate saying it in the American way, Adidas, remain...
You're free to say it that way, it's okay.
Remain heavyweights in the sportswear industry because of the time and the notoriety and the fact that they've associated themselves with teams and individual athletes for a long time. And I'm not sure how celebrity-sponsored sportswear could go that far, but it'll be interesting to see nevertheless.
Indeed, this reminds me of the 1996 film Jerry Maguire, which was about American football, because that's where we're going now. So from
I'm happy you put
Euro,
the prefix there.
yeah, of course,
it's American football.
Right, exactly. So now Colin Kaepernick and his the Nike jersey.
That was the segue that was in the script.
The movie you were talking so well about the business of sports and how so Jerry Maguire is one of my favorite films.
That's fantastic.
Yes,
but I believe the first question you wanted to ask had a better introduction. Please do go ahead and read it, please.
From real football to the other football
to the American football.
Yes. How does this change racial equality with respect to Kaepernick's jersey selling out in a minute? What does it do anything to move the needle?
It does. It shows that there is support behind him.
Yeah.
However, I do believe that Colin Kaepernick, in terms of black people supporting him, that was always the case. People always were in support of, and when I say people, I mean black people who were watching him, who were inspired by the fact that he took a knee and wanted to not only protest against police brutality, but in fact use his platform as a major athlete to ask questions. Why is he taking a knee? Oh, it's because this person was murdered at the hands of the police, and gain and create more awareness around that. Yeah. That's always been supported to some extent from viewers, right? Black viewers.
Right.
However, when you look at the NFL itself, it has not always been in support of racial injustice in this way, because even though we can say that it's fantastic that his jersey, Nike sponsored, has sold out within a minute, it has happened because people do realize that Colin Kaepernick lost his job and his livelihood as an athlete because he took the knee. From the same NFL who are continuing to say that they are in support of moving away from racial injustices happening on and off the field, but it's about putting your money where your mouth is. If you do believe that racial inequality is something that you should promote as one of the biggest sporting leagues in the world, why have you ruined this man's career in this way? Why have you blackballed him? And why do you continue to make it difficult for them to associate, and I don't want to use the word politics because it's not politics, associate racial awareness into sport?
Okay, we only got about 20 seconds. How has sports been used to reflect society in a way it hasn't before, as far as today versus yesteryears?
For the first time in a very long time, people are paying a lot more attention because a lot more high-profile footballers are doing it, and it can only get better. Even in real football, if athletes walk off the pitch when they do hear racial abuse, that would be another example of how you can use sports to uphold.
All right, business correspondent Adife Mekinsanya, thank you so much. You're watching the Global Business Report.